All right, so you made it. Last lesson of Unit 1A Algebra Review. We're working on Lesson 5. We're going to work on multi-step equations today. So you've learned everything you need to know to solve multi-step equations. Some of us, however, ran out of time, so we're just going to do a quick review of like terms. Like terms are terms that have the same variable raised to the same power. So x and x would be like terms. X and x squared are not like terms. It doesn't matter what number's in front. The coefficient, which is the number in front, can be anything. It can be negative, it can be a fraction. It doesn't matter. So looking at this one right here, the 12r doesn't have anything else it can combine with. But the -8 and the -12 are like terms, so I combine them and make -20. So what I want you to do now is looking at the second one down here, you're going to stop, do an Edpuzzle question. Just remember to put that ninja number, that 1, right there in front of the r. Okay, and then you simplify this. You tell me if I combine like terms, and what would it be? Okay, so let's move on, and we're going to now review distributive property. Again, some of us ran out of time, didn't have time to work on distributive property. So let's go ahead and talk about this. The distributive property is how you get rid of those parentheses, and it's using multiplication. So what you do is you multiply by the number outside of the parentheses. In the first problem, the 10 is not what's outside of the parentheses, it's the -5. So I'm going to end up with -5 times 9, that's -45. -5 times -9, that's +45. And then if I combine everything together, right, and then I pull the 10 down, I'm going to combine my like terms here, and I end up with 55 minus 45n. Because I messed up, that should have been a 4, I'm sorry guys. Because the 10 and the 45 are like terms. You know what? Whoops, daisy. I'm not going to take the time to fix it, but that should be a 4 right there where my cursor is, and I missed it. Same thing. You're going to do an Edpuzzle question, and you're going to do this bottom question, -2n minus. Oh, wait, what's the number that I didn't write down in front of that parentheses? It's not -2n. It's not. There's a number there. It's your ninja number 1. So go and do Desmos and solve that problem. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you the algebra way to solve multi-step equations. And it requires you to kind of remember DCIAM, where you use, for heaven's sake, where you use, D stands for the distributive property, and you do this in order every time. If you took algebra here, you probably learned this. Distribute. Not distribute. Right, you guys are probably faster than me in this case. So I'm going to multiply through on that parentheses. Well, remember, what's there? It's kind of like a 1, right? -1 times 5 is going to be -5. -1 times -r is going to be +1r. And that's equal to 13 plus 2r. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is C, combine like terms, like we just did on that first part of the notes today. So I look only on the left-hand side. Oh, gosh darn it. Why did you do that, you evil thing? Hold on a second. I got to fix this. I don't want to have to redo that video every time I make a mistake, because then I end up redoing these videos like 40 times. So I'm going to combine like terms on the left-hand side. I have a 2r and a 5. Can't combine those. But I have 2r plus 1r, so that's 3r. Then I can't drop that 5. I got to keep it. -5 is equal to 13 plus 2r. Okay, that was my C. Now I'm going to do my I, which is isolate the variable on one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my r's that are on this side and I'm going to move them to the left. I want to get rid of them over here. So I'm going to say -2r. If I do that on the right-hand side, I have to do it on the left-hand side. Now if you had me for algebra, which I don't think anybody did because last year I didn't teach algebra, you would have learned another way to do it, which is jailbreak, which I think is also how it's taught at least I know in Columbia, because the teacher who taught this to me is from Columbia and she used to teach there. And I love the method, but I'm not going to teach it to you today. So I have 3r minus 2r, so that's 1r. So I'm going to take that 1 off because that's my ninja number. Can't get rid of that 5. And then my 2r's cancel. That's what I wanted. Equals 13. Now what I'm going to do is the A. So A stands for addition and subtraction, right? AS. Addition or subtraction. I want R by itself. I'm going to undo the addition and subtraction. I'm going to undo that minus 5 by adding 5 to both sides. And I'm going to have, and this is going to cancel out again, and I'm going to have R equals 18. Okay? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't, Miss Barnett. You went way too fast. I know. But here's the deal. You know what? We're not going to do this. I'm going to skip this. I'm not going to expect you to do it that way. If you know how to do it and you like to do it that way, awesome. If it confuses you and you hate this, I'm going to show you a trick on Desmos, and hopefully you've already learned it, and we're just refreshing your memory. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do this on Desmos. Sorry, I had to pause the video for a second, so there might have been an awkward pause there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of here. Let's see if I can do this. Hold on a second. Why isn't it letting me escape? Oh, finally let me get out of that screen. I'm going to go to Desmos, and I'm going to type this problem in, which of course I forgot to write down. Okay. So I've got 2x minus 2 equals 4x plus 6. This is the problem that's on your notes. You're going to type it exactly the way it is on your paper. And I'm looking and I see this line going through here, and it's going through at the point negative 4, 0. So my x value at this point is negative 4. Guess what the answer is? You got it, negative 4. So I'm going to go back to my notes, and I'm going to write down negative 4. That's my answer. I don't need you to show your work, right? You got the right answer. If you use Desmos, I don't need to see your work. If you want to do this the other way, that's fine. The algebra way, that's fine. If you want to use Desmos, that's fine. The battle in this class is not to learn algebra. We should already know it. If we haven't learned it, that's okay. There are ways around it. We can get there, okay? We need to learn the big picture on geometry. So let's do it again. So I'm going to put this next one in, okay? So now I've got 6w minus w plus 4. I'm typing it exactly the way I see it on my paper. But here's my problem. There's no line here, and there's an exclamation point right here next to my problem. That means that the computer does not know what to do, okay? It can't do substitution because there's an equal sign, so it doesn't know why I'm using a W. And it can't graph because I'm using a W. I need a graph. And when you need a graph, you have to use the letter X. So I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to redo this, and every single W is going to turn into an X. Every single one. Oh, look, the exclamation mark went away. Now I have a squiggly line, and now I have a line going through my graph. And it just happens that it's the same answer. It's negative 4 again. Okay, not that every problem is equal to negative 4 with X, but excuse me, it's early and I haven't had my coffee yet. So the answer again is going to be negative 4. I didn't have to do any math, didn't have to go distribute, didn't have to isolate like terms, didn't have to do anything of that sort, just use Desmos. So now I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to say negative 4 is my answer here. Okay, so now we're going to try this one, right? But now I know that instead of typing the H, I'm just going to turn it into an X. And sometimes when the problem is really long, whoops, because I already forgot that I was doing that, I rewrite it so that right below the original problem, so I know that I'm not making a mistake. Okay, and now I'm looking at this, oh, it looks like it's going through 0, but I got to check. It's a funky answer, but that's a legit answer. Negative 0.083. Okay, it can be a decimal. Decimals are numbers too. Didn't have to do the math on that one. Thank goodness. That would have been pretty ugly. I just used Desmos, and I got my answer. So what I do recommend is that I have to rewrite it. Like you could tell when I was typing that I made a mistake typing when I was putting it into the into Desmos. And that's because I just have a really hard time processing. Like for me doing this, I'm not switching back and forth between screens. I have my notes here that I'm looking down on to copy into Desmos. It's hard for me. This is an issue for me, okay? And I have a feeling it's an issue for other people too. So I try to make it easier. This is what you do with Desmos. All right, so now what you're going to do is this. We're going to do an Edpuzzle. And the Edpuzzle is going to be each of the next 3 questions in the boxes on your notes. And then you've got 2 more problems that are fractions. So what I want you guys to do is do these questions. I'm going to give you a hint for each one between when they come up in the video. You ready? So for number 4, remember to turn that Q into an X. Okay? For number 5, all you have to worry about is distributing that 4 just to what's inside the parentheses. Okay? And for number 6, watch your signs. Okay? Make sure that you're watching those negative signs multiplied with a positive and that everything's matched up. Okay? For your first fraction problem, let me show you on Desmos. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can do 3 divided by 4. You just hit the division bar on the keyboard, or on this keyboard you hit the division symbol. But if I do that, remember you have to hit the right arrow key. So on your keyboard, your actual keyboard, not the one on the screen, there's a right arrow key all the way at the bottom right corner of your screen. Hit that, and watch my cursor on this screen. Watch the cursor. See how it moves? Now it's moved back out. It's not in the fraction. If I go and hit the left button back, it goes back into the fraction. But if I don't hit that right button, you see how this is not what the equation says. That's not what my equation says. That's a funky graph. That is not what my equation says. So remember to hit the right arrow key to get out and then type. And I always like to check. I hold my notes up to the screen and I'm looking to make sure that it looks exactly the same as what's on the paper. Okay. The last one, if you haven't learned it yet, to do a big division problem like that. So remember, first you're changing it to an X. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the whole thing and then hit the division symbol. Okay? That's one way to do it. There are actually a couple ways to do it. That's how I like to do it. Some people like to do it differently, and that's okay. All right? Okay. We're done. Once you've done this, you're going to ask me for the mastery check, and once you've done the mastery check, I will give you the test. Okay? Take care, guys. Good work.